16, 17, okay, counting.
Well, I'd say nice to meet you, but I have met you.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Good to see you again so soon, back on the couch.
Yeah.
Again, I am Sam Schneider, and this is Badbeard's podcast. I am Badbeard, and we are sitting not once but twice with Jason Kehl. He was kind enough to stop by before the races yesterday, and just a little bit of technical difficulties, and we had a great conversation that was not recorded. And so he's back again in the hot seat.
We'll try to do it again.
We'll try to do it again. I don't know if we're going to capture that same magic in a bottle.
Yeah, it was more authentic the first time.
So as long as you learned your script, we will just 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
No. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the wide world.
Yeah, my name is Jason Kehl. I'm Director of Racing for Harley-Davidson Motor Company out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we are here at Road Atlanta running the Baggers, which is the current factory effort for Harley-Davidson. We race in the Moto America Professional Race Series governed by the AMA, managed by Moto America, and we're here with the super bikes and super sport and your traditional sport motorcycles running modified production road glides.
Well, hot dang, it's like you actually did have a script there for that one.
Too corporate?
No, it's good.
Right,
Well, because
all right.
it's the information. So I'm excited because I'm bringing on a different type of guest than traditionally comes in here. And so someone of your caliber and the high level that you operate at. And then equally what you guys are doing with Moto America here at Road Atlanta, which is the Baggers. And so you blitz through it. But long story short is you are partly responsible with starting what is now the Bagger Racing League. This is taking the big bikes and tuning them in such a way that you're fast.
They are fast. So yes, Moto America has multiple classes of sport bikes, but as Moto America took over AMA professional road racing in the United States, they were looking ways to bring people to the track. And there had been a growing trend for performance within Harley-Davidson for some time, but that trend started transitioning, I'd say in the mid-teens, to our largest motorcycles and our most popular motorcycles, specifically the touring, Grand American Touring as we call it, but the road glide and street glide models. And small aftermarket companies really started developing performance product because people wanted to ride the bikes more aggressively, more sport oriented. I think it speaks to the development that Harley had done to be able to get the chassis to a point where people could ride them a little more spirited, if you will. And so Moto America, along with some others, got together and decided to put on an exhibition race in 2020. And they say, okay, it was actually in conjunction with Drag Specialties, which a lot of Harley fans would identify as like the big book of all the accessories that you can have. But all the companies were invited to come and put their parts on the motorcycle and have a really good time around the racetrack. And it was so wildly popular that Moto America said, hey, we have to expand this. In 2021, they made it an official class, an official series, 3 races in 2021. And here we are, having our 6th race this afternoon of the season already in an 18-race season, 9 events across the United States.
Whoa. And so it was an exhibition race where it's just to come out, show out, be like, hey, this is going to be cool. And we can throw money at it, and then people just have a great laugh and really see a spectacle. And it just hit so hard that people were like, man, I got a street glide, I got a road glide. And similar, like all these guys that run Dynas, like performance was king. And so all of a sudden people were like, Can we keep doing that?
Yeah, it was so exciting. Everybody, it was kind of an exhibition when it first started. When people saw the potential and the excitement that was around seeing something completely different on the racetrack that they hadn't seen before. Yeah, it's a motorcycle. Dropping down the corkscrew at Laguna Seca and the way that they handled, and I mean, those bikes are so different than what we've developed them to today, but it was still so impressive at the time that it kept growing. And I, sitting at Harley-Davidson, saw that this opportunity and marketing had identified the races, and we said, no, we want to be part of that. We want to be part of it. Again, it started as a Drag Specialties promotion,
right?
But come 2021, it was an official class, and we joined as then the Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle team, as I was leading product development for Screaming Eagle at the time. Screaming Eagle is our in-house performance brand. We develop aftermarket performance products that are street legal.
So before the Baggers, before the things, you guys were already doing tuning with Screaming Eagle. And so that was originally the performance area.
Yeah, Screaming Eagle has been around for 40 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Harley-Davidson is 120 years old, but Screaming Eagle as a performance brand has been there for 40, and we do aftermarket kits, primarily engine kits, to get a little more performance out of the engine. We've recently expanded that with the development here on the racetrack to suspension components that we've co-developed with Öhlins and some other parts across the total motorcycle, expanding performance from just high horsepower dyno numbers to really performance riding and handling.
So where did your specificity, your specialty in this area really start developing? Like before you were even at Screaming Eagle, when did you kind of key on, like, I like what I'm doing, I have the skills necessary, like, when did you start turning wrenches to make things go faster?
Yeah, I don't know that I had any specialty specifically in motorcycling, but you know, I've worked in product development my entire career, an engineer by trade. Worked in different industries, defense, aerospace, and most recently
You got like cool
healthcare
like
before I
security
came.
clearances and stuff like that?
Well, I think it's expired now.
Oh.
Yeah, at the time.
I applied for a job,
Yeah.
and they're like, do you have this level of security clearance? I was like, yeah. I don't know what the process was. I didn't get a call back.
Yeah, it's a pretty long process.
Is
Takes
it?
months and months.
And
Well,
what are they
depending on
vetting?
what the level. Your whole history. They'll call friends from high school. They'll call your old teachers.
Oh,
every
shit.
place you've been out of the country, every hotel that you stayed at. I mean, again, depending on the level, it can be quite involved.
Jeez. So you were doing that, you had the
Yeah.
credentials, and you were doing defense stuff, and you were already product development. So you already,
Always worked in product development,
Okay.
specifically electromechanical and mechanical engineering, but always liked motorcycles.
yeah. Well, and so, because I know, in the conversation we just had, 2 days ago, you're back on, you grew up just outside of Milwaukee.
I did.
And so you grew up around motorcycles, you saw them coming, you saw them going. More specifically, Buell was your neighbor.
Yes, I grew up in a small town outside Milwaukee called East Troy, and that was the home of Buell Motorcycles, who was building sport motorcycles, Eric Buell at the time, out of Sportster engines that came directly from Milwaukee. But being that close to Milwaukee, you can't sit outside the house on a weekend and not just have a nice weekend, and not just have motorcycles running by
Right.
the whole time. So motorcycling is a huge influence and a huge history around Milwaukee, and that was always part of it. My dad had a very typical dad story, I think, that he had a motorcycle that he bought when he was in college. He met my mom because of that motorcycle in a lot of ways, and he parked it when he had his first kid, my older sister. But that motorcycle sat in the garage for years and years, and of course, as a young boy, you're super excited. At least I was
You're just
at the
sitting
time.
on it in the garage, just making noises.
Oh yeah, I can't remember how many times I got yelled at for draining the battery, because you'd get on the motorcycle, turn the lights on, flash, and then just forget to turn it off. So anytime he did want to start it, or more my uncle would come and want to ride it, and it never worked because the battery was never.
Well, and so as that motorcycle sat, eventually
Yes.
it gummed up, and then you reached the ripe age of, 14, 15?
Yeah,
you had
14 years old.
You had the opportunity.
Yeah, my dad actually challenged me. He said, "Hey, if you can get it running, we'll sell it. We'll split the money."
Okay.
I was like, "Okay, well, that's a good
Yeah,
challenge."
yeah,
I was
that's
just
not the
starting
worst.
high school at the time. The first elective class I signed up for in high school, first semester, freshman year, was small engines. And most people, they're bringing in like a leaf blower that didn't work, or a chainsaw from their garage. And I immediately pulled out that 750, a Honda 1975 Honda 750 Super Sport that wasn't running, but inline four separate carburetors, pulled it out of the frame and brought it into class, and had
Well, then to interrupt you, I mean, yes, to bring it into your small engine class to work on it, but like, how did you know how to take it out of the frame?
just started unbolting stuff.
You were just like, okay, I can figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes.
Okay.
I always joke that if you can take it apart, then you know how to put it back together. So you just start unbolting stuff.
You
until
know,
it comes out
I
of
feel
the
like I've
frame,
seen
right?
enough people on meth on TV that just all they do is take things apart and then they never go back together.
Yeah. Well, this did, because I had the goal to ride it. So
Yeah.
absolutely, by the end of that, a couple months into my freshman year of high school, certainly that was running. And I held on to that bike for a long time. I rode it in high school more often than my parents ever realized, and certainly in college as well. So it was a great summer,
then you
summer
were
thing in Wisconsin.
Bit by the bug.
Absolutely. I mean, I've had it ever since. And then, you start a professional career, moving around the country, different jobs, and I got to
Where'd you
a
go to
point-
school?
I went to school, undergraduate in Madison,
Okay.
bachelor's in mechanical engineering from the University of Wisconsin. Go Badgers.
Go Badgers.
Yeah. And moved to New York City after college. Sold everything I owned. I actually sold that motorcycle. My biggest regret is selling that one. That was my dad's. I wish I still had it. For the $850 that I needed to pay that first month's rent to get an apartment in New York City. So, anyways, moved to Arizona, and then.
But so you were living the big city life in New York.
Yep.
Finished the degree, and then you're like, all right, a job took you.
Job took me all the way to Arizona.
Okay.
That was the defense job. And then ultimately I got married and had a couple kids and wanted to move back to the Milwaukee area where we had family
Close
support.
to home, yeah.
So moving back to Milwaukee, okay, well, Harley-Davidson, right? It had been there the whole time. It was one of those places that I targeted as employment. And I was working at the time and started reworking on motorcycles in my garage. Bought a Sportster off Craigslist for $2,000 and completely rebuilt it into a performance Sportster. And of course, then the Sportster wasn't enough. So then I bought the Dyna, and the Dynas were so huge at the time and had to build a performance Dyna, and then ultimately wound up at Harley-Davidson.
What year was it that you were wrenching on the Sportster?
I think I bought that one around 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. Dyna a few years later. Joined Harley-Davidson in 2017. And it really, performance baggers were kind of just starting about that time period.
FXRs.
FXRs, but then people were starting to build those into touring platforms. It was kind of the end of the big wheel craze and the start of, transitioning
big
into
wheel
the
bagger.
performance. Yeah. Big wheels wouldn't come around the racetrack quite like these ones do, but
they look
the
cool
performance ones. But it was specifically, I went that first year when I was at Harley, had the opportunity to go work Sturgis and see all the customers, and I rode a touring bike from Milwaukee all the way out to Sturgis, and then of course you see how beautiful the roads are. I had never gone riding around Sturgis, just on the freeway like out west, and I'm like, wow, this bike handles pretty good. I mean, lean angle a little bit limited, but the way that it held the line and the turns, and it had a Screaming Eagle performance kit at the time, like this acceleration out of the corner, like it was really fun to ride. I go, okay, I get where this performance touring thing is going, and followed it really closely ever since, all the way to 2020 when this craze started, and they're like, yeah, so we got to do it. So it was COVID at the time, no budget, no team to go do it, but we were Screaming Eagle team.
Yeah.
It was a Screaming
So
Eagle
you're out of
group.
your garage at this time. You're allowed in the shop. You're allowed to touch all the tools, anything you want.
Well, at that point, to start the program, we're still in the garage.
Okay.
I had to start it in the garage.
A little hush hush?
Was it
like,
hush hush because we had no budget.
Yeah.
We had no time. So I asked my entire team at the time, hey, who wants to do this? Everybody said, I want to do it. Set up shop in the garage. We still could only come into work for very specific needs because of COVID at the time. Started working on the bike, and it's grown to what is now a full schedule of racing, a full factory team. We got You
got cool outfits.
Cool outfits and branding.
I see that orange
in
right
layers,
there.
a little pop of orange on the black and white. Yeah, that's good.
So it's come a long way, and you've had a front row seat for the one. Arguably, you were at the steering wheel for a fair bit.
Pardon?
So not only that you had a front row seat to the growth and of what it is today, but you were kind of like steering with it with the development of it. And
yeah, I mean, we've been involved, I think, really from the beginning. And you saw the participation. I mean, Harley came in, and Polaris saw that Harley was coming in, and they wanted to do more with their motorcycle brand, and we've just been pushing that development ever since.
Is that a friendly relationship?
It is everyone likes to play it up as a really head-bashing relationship, and I would say that there's not we're not going out to eat and having beers necessarily after the races, but I respect the fact that there's of what they've done, and I respect their motorcycle and what they've been able to develop and how their team is.
Do you ever see something you go, oh, that's pretty tight?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But our motorcycles are so vastly different in terms of the very modern chassis and engine platform of the Challenger versus the rubber-mounted, air-cooled engine that still exists in the Harley-Davidson model. So from a development standpoint, although the physics behind a motorcycle and what makes it go fast and how it handles and how chassis geometry is set up, the actual development of the parts on the bike, there's not a ton of crossover.
So when you get a street glide, road glide, right off the showroom floor, and you bring it back to your garage at your house, like how much work needs to be done on it to bring it up to some type of performance level? Not to bring it out to the track necessarily, but it's a goer.
Yeah, I think that's really cool about, and one of the things that why people love Harley-Davidson is the customization associated with it. I mean, we have a parts and accessories division within Harley-Davidson, but then you look at, I mentioned Drag Specialties with the Big Book and all the small companies that offer really cool and exciting parts for Harley-Davidson, and the way that you can customize it and make it your own, and the number of things that are in the performance space now, it's pretty easy to build a really great bike. And if you look at the Screaming Eagle catalog with Harley-Davidson and the performance kits associated with the motor, it doesn't take too much to get that really next step of performance. Certainly the refinement that goes in to run 129 lap times here at Road Atlanta is a whole next level. But
for those not in the know, baggers being in this series and out on the same tracks as some of these super bikes and everything like that, it's already impressive what those bikes can achieve. But it's my understanding that you guys were able to come in just like 4.5 seconds behind what they're putting down.
Yeah, so super bikes here, we're about 5 seconds behind super bikes after qualifying.
That's substantial. That's impressive.
Yeah, they go quick. I mean, we went 185.5 officially was the official top speed at Daytona a few weeks ago. I mean, that's 186 miles an hour on the bagger. It's pretty fast. We were the fastest bikes that ran at Daytona all weekend, faster than the super sports in terms of top speed and lap times. Again, we qualify. There's a cutoff time if you want to race a super bike race. We qualify for the super bike grid. So if you were racing the bagger, you could line up for super bike on just pure on time. But it's pretty nuts.
Well, so from where you sit, with all that you've already done and achieved, how much? I mean, you learn every time you're at the track, right?
Absolutely.
How much are you able to bring back into the office and onto the the desk and go, this is what we can do next?
One of the real exciting things about racing for the organization and to have a true factory team again is it's all the people back at the factory working on the development of the motorcycle and then getting that real-time feedback every time you go to the track. I mean, we're always trying to be better every single time we go out. We're always trying new things. Some of them are bigger than others, but you're always getting that feedback and you're learning so fast. It's really become an advanced engineering group for Harley-Davidson to say, if we have an idea, okay, let's go try that. Let's make sure it's safe and make sure we think it's going to work, but let's go try it. So much quicker than you do in a normal product development process when you have to document all your requirements and meet your cost targets and high volume production, and there's just a different set of requirements that we don't have to deal with
just
to
because,
go racing.
Because of the scale that Harley operates
Absolutely.
at, and just so you're supported in that growth.
Yes, and then we can learn so fast and then get those learnings and then bring them back into the production plan. That might take a couple of years to come out with, but customers will see the new CVO ST that was just launched in January. That is our CVO, our custom vehicle operations. That's our top of the line level of motorcycles. We have a sport touring model. That's what ST stands for. That has a direct influence of everything that we've learned here at the racetrack, from the cooling strategy in the engine, from throttle body and head work to suspension, especially remote reservoir, fully adjustable rear shocks, and a 1x1 adjustable front fork. Lightweight, first time we've ever used titanium and carbon fiber on a production motorcycle, materials that we've been using on the race bike since the beginning. So that's when it's exciting, is when you can say, all right, well, now we're taking all these learnings and it's just not a cool side project that everybody's doing, but we're actually folding it back into production, and then customers get to see and experience the improved product that we're able to offer. I mean, throttle map on that bike, there's a track mode on a street legal road glide
Not
motorcycle.
everybody gets to bring their daily driver into for a dyno tune and testing.
Yeah, and that track mode has a throttle progressivity map that is directly off of one of our riders that was developed by Kehl. It has a much softer initial pickup because we're usually picking up the throttle on the side of the tire when you don't have as much grip. So that's softer and then takes off much more aggressive after the bike stood back up. But that is, you can feel that exact progressivity in the street bike that we have out here on the racetrack. So stuff like that is super fun to see as someone that works in product development, and to see all the work that the team has done
come to fruition. Share to the masses.
Here you go.
Well,
come by.
What does that look like if I'm looking down there in the paddock right now, right?
Yep.
And so for those of you who don't know, all the bikes out here today, there's a whole bunch of different teams, there's a whole bunch of different bikes that people have brought to come race. And it seems to be bigger than it has been in the past. People are even up here, pitted up here up top. But from the far end to your end, how varied are these bikes? Like, when you guys are putting out this new ST model, are people going to be then buying those and introducing those? There'll be better tech across the board. Like, what is that range and difference of all the riders down there?
Most of the riders that you'll see actually out here racing are beneficiaries of the development that the factory
Okay.
teams have done across all the brands. So we have a race use only catalog that we're selling, you know, the swing arm that we've developed, the triple clamps, the suspension, engine components, all of that to independent teams that want to run here. I think we have 8 Harley-Davidsons out here racing this weekend. 2 of them are factory bikes. The rest of them all have parts that we've been able to develop. Certainly those are race use only parts. The next step of that is to have actual parts and accessories, of which we do some. Screaming Eagle, by Olin's rear shocks, for example, you can go buy today. And that's ultimately the goal, is to have all that product available. But the core of the bike is still a production motorcycle. We can't touch the mainframe, we can't touch the engine cases. We have to start with production components, which means everything on the engine starts as production and we modify it specifically for racing. But it is a production-based racing class. And I think that's one of the things people really love about it, is they come here and, you know, Road Glide and Street Glide, those Grand American touring bikes are the most popular motorcycles in all the US. There's hundreds of thousands of them out there running around on any given weekend. And to come see at the racetrack what those bikes do, it'll blow your mind.
Hey man, I bet I could do that on my way home. You throw the leg over the road glide, I'll race you.
Closed course professional racers.
Yeah, totally. I'll see you on the old highway out there. So that's really cool, really exciting. With these new race fans coming in, and what has been your perspective as?
So we were out at Laguna Seca 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We won the race. Everybody was super excited. We go back to the tent. You know, we have a semi truck here with a big tent on it. That's where we work out of. And there's this guy in this, you know, hardcore.
Hell yeah, brother.
Leather vest, Hell's Angels on the back. We're looking around at each other like, did you let him in here? Did you let him in? No, who is that? That's the president? I don't know what they call him. The lead chapter guy for the Hell's Angels out there. I'm not sure his name. But they're like, you tell him to get out of here. I'm like, I'm not telling him to get out of here. You tell him to get out of here. They're like, oh, like, you're the boss. I'm like, okay. If he touches anything, we might say something.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've never seen Hell's Angel guys come to a racetrack before, and that's just an extreme example. But you'll see so many American motorcyclists that are just fans of motorcycling coming to the racetrack now because you have the American brands participating in the sport. And so to have, you know, Polaris with their Indian brand, and to have Harley-Davidson here bringing so many new people and exposing them to the sport. Well, once you're here at the racetrack, you're having a good time. You see the baggers out there. Well, now you're watching a super sport race, and now you're watching the super bikes race, and you get to learn the different people that are out here. And it is all about people and the individuals and the teams and the effort. Yeah, and it's a community within motorcycling that Harley-Davidson hasn't participated in a while. And to bring those communities together and help just build the sport of motorcycling is what's super exciting. And it was our goal from the very beginning. We talked about it from day one that, hey, this isn't just about going and racing. This is about building motorcycling through racing. Product development being a big focus of mine, and you know, as my passion is product development. But how do we also grow the whole brand, Harley-Davidson brand, lift motorcycling, keep motorcycling in the forefront of people's minds, and get them to participate and come together, rather than having the sport bike guys and the bagger guys fighting each other, and you know, nobody but red, you know, Ducati guys at the sport track. They'll never be seen in Sturgis, and you know, Sturgis guys, you know, fighting with the sport bike guys.
Hey,
so,
two
like,
wheels is two wheels to me, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the more that people come and experience, I mean, that's just like anything in life. Like if you travel, you go experience different cultures, you end up falling in love with all of it, because it's just like the variety is the spice of life. And so why not for motorcyclists to come see a different side of things?
I mean, I was hooked on a 1975 UJM, you know, Universal Japanese motorcycle. That's the Honda 750, you know, that iconic bike that really got Honda going here in the United States. I mean, it was a great motorcycle for what it was. It was a great motorcycle for me when I didn't have any money. It was still fun to ride. I mean, we ridden all kinds of motorcycles. We got so many people at Harley-Davidson that, you know, are off-road people, or sport bike people, or adventure touring, or Grand American touring, certainly, but I mean, they just love motorcycles. I think people, when they talk about Harley, sometimes you talk about Harley in the abstract, because it's been around for so long. You know, we've been around 121 years now, since 1903 when we were founded. People say, well, Harley this or Harley that, and everybody has their opinion. They forget that it's nothing but a bunch of people that make the product, and that make the decisions, and that go to work every day because they really love what they're doing, and they really love motorcycles. They want to bring motorcycles and keep them out on the roads in the US. I mean, we got all kinds of safety and environmental and regulatory pressures that are making motorcycling more difficult, we want to make motorcycling more accessible to everybody so that we can continue to do what we love to do.
With your perspective, working inside the monolith that is HD, would you say that is at the corporate level they want to maintain that authentic experience? Like they want to deliver what people want. It's not like they like our way or the highway. They're receptive to change or growth.
Yes.
And I can cut it out if you need me to.
No, I mean, 100%. There is no doubt. We talk about it all the time. I mean, certainly Harley has a type of motorcycle or a segment of the motorcycle population that we've done very well in, and we have a very authentic look, sound, and feel of our motorcycles that we've looked to maintain, and there's something that resonates with the customers and all of us that work there, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way or the highway and in fact it's far opposite than that. One of Harley's goals is to welcome anybody that wants to experience motorcycling, whether it's on a Harley-Davidson or whether it's not. Obviously, we'd like you to come buy a Harley-Davidson. That's what keeps us all employed and pays for my kids' college, I hope. But exposure to motorcycling is a goal, and we want people to feel comfortable riding motorcycles. And how do we do that? And how do we develop better, safer product for people to go out and enjoy?
When I think part of it is taking down, or at least revealing behind the curtain of like what people think, whatever the stigma they have or whatever, that it isn't that, and it's just like it can be intimidating, or it can be some version of whatever. They're like, oh, and it's always like, oh, my second cousin crashed, and I'm like, oh, please tell me the story about I can't wait to hear it.
One of the things about motorcyclists, though, they just always want to talk about motorcycling, which is a good thing, but you'll hear all those stories.
Yeah. Well, so as you develop these high-end products and as these bikes get faster and faster, you're sitting behind the computer, doing magic, but are you able to get out on these bikes and do a couple laps yourself and feel it firsthand?
The race bikes in particular?
Yeah.
We do a lot of testing internally.
And when everybody's looking the other way, they go.
The level that these guys ride at.
I'm not saying you gotta go as fast as them, but you're like, are you able to twist the throttle on one of those?
The race bikes in particular, we reserve for the racers.
Okay.
All of our performance product I get to ride, yes.
So you're saying I don't get to go?
Well, I mean, how fast are you?
Like so fast. For the listeners, it sounds like I'm going fast. For the viewers, I'm not. No, I like to arrive alive, so slow and steady wins the race.
There's a lot of those reels on Instagram, and all over the internet. People think they're going fast and hanging their knee out. I'm not visualizing that right now, but yeah,
you can put it together. Oh yeah,
visualizing that.
No, that's fun and funny. Well, I'm super excited for you to come by and share all this with me. I'm equally excited for my show to continue expanding, to be having conversations with individuals like yourself that bring so much insight into such a high level of experience. And so I'm happy that you came on. I'm happy to see you guys race well today. If you don't do well, I'm definitely blaming you. And with that, now is your time that you can share what is coming up, where people can find something that you think needs attention, or your own personal, private, whatever. That camera.
Yeah, I mean, pay attention to Harley-Davidson.com for updates, and certainly we have social media posts in terms of the King of the Bagger series with Moto America, MotoAmerica.com. Find all of your racing needs. I'd also like to encourage everybody to search for Push the Limit on YouTube. Push the Limit is a docu-series that we released and are currently releasing. The next episode 3 comes out
Did a great job.
Next Monday. Fantastic look behind the scenes of Harley-Davidson factory racers, but not only them, but factory supported teams as well. So Team Saddlemen had 4 riders in 2023, and Vance and Hines Harley-Davidson had another 2 riders. So you'll get to learn about those riders, why they do what they do, why they love what they do, what Harley-Davidson means to them, and how Harley-Davidson is a family of brand and welcome motorcycle brand, and why we do all this and what we love about it. And you'll get to learn those people, and you will be a fan of the individuals if not a fan of the brand as well by the time you're done watching it. But Push the Limit, last year we had a 1-hour docu-series. It just covered the Harley factory team, a great piece. But if you want to learn more, please watch those free on YouTube globally around the world.
Well, I will definitely be attaching those films to this podcast as it's released and everywhere it goes, and I'll equally share this with you. And if I learned anything from that little documentary, was it's not just racing, it's everything.
Absolutely.
That was one of the lines I got. But well, I appreciate your time, and I'll let you get back to work. Let But that's it, baby.
Thanks. We didn't cover a couple revealing stories that my mom would have gotten
About
mad about.
the deer that almost killed you, Mom? Yeah, I purposely left that one out. And then the one for your wife, too.
So
we
thanks
kept
for
it
that
up.
one, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, and until I get my time machine fired up, we're just going to leave that one in the past.
Maybe next time. Thank you.
Hey, cheers to you, sir.
Awesome.